Hi, everybody. My name's Craig Hamilton Parker. I'm a psychic medium. If you've not seen the show before, this is where we look at all things that are happening in the world, and I make a few predictions about it, give a few opinions sometimes a bit too many opinions, and give you some sort of insights and look at the world from a spiritual standpoint of the viewpoint of a psychic medium. And today, it's the 31st of May, 2024, and I'll be making a few predictions about Donald Trump. Particularly with what's just happened with the courts and things like that. I'll be asking questions like, what will now happen with the elections in November in America? What will happen? Will Trump go to jail, perhaps? Could there be a plot, perhaps, to kill Donald Trump? And will Trump win an appeal? All that and more in Coffee with Craig. Hi again, everybody. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to follow the channel and welcome to the show. We're going to do a few predictions right at the top of the show, and then we'll move on to some thoughts as well. So it looks like they finally nailed Trump, haven't they? It seems like they've nailed him. They've been out to get him for a while. And when the state are out to get you, they'll get you, right? And they'll find something somehow, and they have for Trump, I feel. And it took maybe, 4 attempts already, and they got 3 more indictments ahead, I think, for him. And they've really been working on him, haven't they? And they've got him for cooking the books, basically, for claiming personal expenses as a business expense. Um, and that's the essence of it, really, isn't it? And of course, they'll do everything else to ice the cake and make it look worse than it is, because these things will stick. And if you say enough negative things about a person, the associations will be much more associated with things that have happened with what hush money as associated with this case, prostitution and adultery are associated with this case, and anything that is the only actual illegal thing with it really is the fact that it was a cook in the books, but they're using it, and I think people are not daft about this. They're seeing through this facade, and the powers that be, they have to stop Trump at all costs, even if it means trashing the whole legal system, even if it means hijacking postal voting and so on. So what will happen next? That's what everybody's asking. Well, I predict, first of all, that this is going to backfire massively. Already, polls suggest that people will not switch their main plans of voting. We'll see that Trump's campaign website today has already crashed because so many more people want to contribute to his funds. So I predict that this is going to be a real backfire. It's going to push the American people to really think about the frailness of the democratic system. It's going to make many, as I've said before, I see the black community turning much more towards Trump. They see him as a victim, just like we're a victim of political oppression. So those that would normally be voting Democrat may vote Republican now. And I feel that this whole trumped up sort of case, as it were, sorry about the pun, but it's beginning to sort of look like it's showing its holes, really. It's showing its holes already. And of course, the media are reveling in this. The liberal media are reveling in it. But, when people are sat watching this, what will they be thinking? There's lots of people who have already made their mind up. They're not going to shift their views. And that's why the polls don't seem to shift much. But the important people are the in between people, the silent ones, the silent majority in many respects. The people that don't talk about politics, those are the important people. The people that don't talk about politics but do have a vote. These are the ones that I feel are going to be the most important ones in this whole thing. Do people think that the man is a crook, or do they think that the man is a victim? Can he fix the economy? Can he fix migration and the wars? Or will he become the next Napoleon and grab power and never let it go again? These are the thoughts that people are obviously having to address. Do they see him as a convicted felon, or do they see him as a victim of a desperate and out of control government? This question is on people's mind. This is what is behind the kind of fluidity of consciousness that's running in the background. This is the soul of America, as it were, and with it the soul of the world, because whoever runs America has a huge influence on everybody else. Here in the UK, Biden hates the UK. I'm Irish, he says, even though actually his family roots come just down the road from us at Chichester. That's where his family roots come from, not Ireland. Anyway, that's another topic. But this is going to be part of the arguments ahead. And I predict that Trump's going to win this argument. I predict he's going to win this argument about that he's been stitched up. And I think the silent majority are going to already see this. At first people will wonder, think, oh, we can't convict a felon. A felon's a bad person to have in control. We can't have a felon in the government. And that's the message that's going to be hammered home through the media all the time. But are people stupid, or are people listening carefully and they're thinking, hey, this don't seem right? Indictment after indictment. The same thing could apply to so many politicians, couldn't it? In every country, in every business. Anyway, so I predict that the polls will remain fairly static. That's just going to happen. But I also see that when the election comes in November, I predict it's not just going to be a win for Trump. I predict it's going to be a massive win for Trump. That middle group is going to be the people who are going to change things radically in America. The hidden forces that guide America's ship knew that even with this victory, they could not beat Trump. They know they can't beat him. They're desperate. So what's plan B? I predict that there's going to be an assassination attempt on Trump's life. It's going to happen as we near the election. It will be a close call. It will be a very close call, but they won't finish him off. I kind of saw an attempt of his life as he steps out of I see him stepping out of a limousine of some sort, and I see an attempt on him like that. And it's in a big city. I see this, a big city. It's a big city, something like New York. May not be New York, but it's a big city of some sort. And he's stepping out the back of a car, and someone goes for him. And now he's obviously got tremendous protection around him, but there's a lapse of some sort, a bit like what happened with John Lennon. I see something happening like that, and it'll be claimed to be a lone madman that's doing this, but I'm feeling that there's a political attempt behind him. There's something being done in the background. They're planning their plan B. So let's see what happens as we come up to November. They won't get him. So will Trump go to jail? This is another thing I expect you'd like me to think about. Well, I predict he won't go to jail. He won't go to jail. They dare not go that far because there'd be riots in the streets. But talk of jail is very helpful to his enemies. So they'll be waving this sword of Damocles over him. This is the plan at the moment is to sow doubts in people's minds, to use the legal system to sow endless doubts in people's minds. And his enemies are keen to keep sowing doubts. That's one of the few things they have left, because their policies, as far as I can see, seem pretty messed up. They're not working. Their politicians are very, very weak, as we can see. And so they need to sort of say that this man's dangerous. This man's dangerous. Yeah. But is he? Is he really? Um, will Trump win on an appeal? Well, I predict that he will win based on an appeal. My thoughts are, and my feelings are about this, that the judge, and this is the case they're put forward, and I feel they will win this on an appeal because they'll be able to do the appeal in a different state. The appeal was the actual legal proceedings we've seen all happened in Manhattan, which is a very Democrat area. And I feel they'll get an appeal in a different area in the name of fairness. Of course, will it be on time for the election to get this through is going to be another question. But they're going to argue the fact that, for example, that the judge was biased, the witness was proven to be a liar, and that the jury were politically opinionated. So this whole episode will highlight, I feel, that America is becoming a banana republic. They're going to argue the counter argument to that Trump's a felon, that the political system is corrupt and that the legal system has been used wrongly. So I predict he will win in the appeal. He may be able to have his appeal somewhere less aggressively against him, somewhere like Texas, and I think we'd see a whole different coloring of these events. The only thing Trump's really guilty of, well, he is guilty. I personally think his bookkeeping, yes, probably is guilty with that. But it's been used in a way as a political tool. And I think he will win his case against it, actually. But I suppose the biggest thing he's guilty of is leading in the polls, isn't it? They're coming down on him. And I think people are seeing this. They're seeing that he's he's a victim because he's wanting to go for the presidency and is more and more likely to win. If he wasn't aiming at the presidency, would any of this have happened at all? I think not. I think we need to look also what's next. Who's next, actually? Because if they can go for Trump this way, why can't they also go for other ex-presidents and ex-people that have been in power? And I predict that the Republicans are going to use this as their counteroffensive in many ways. So watch out Washington and watch out the entrenched power mongers there, because I predict that the Republicans are going to go on the attack. Attack is the best form of defense, they say, and they're going to call for indictments of other powerful people. We're going to see many other powerful people being indicted. Could it be perhaps Hillary Clinton? Could it be Obama? Could it be Hunter Biden, or could it even be Joe Biden? Because normally, we let sleeping dogs lie with these things. And once a person's out of power, it's not in our interest to go for them. But I see a whole new sort of line of illegal attack. And the gloves are off now in Washington, and the gloves are off now in America. And sadly, I feel that we're going to see more and more use of the legal system. Again, on either side of the account, it's the wrong way to go, because this is not what the legal system's there for. It's not there for politics, but it's going to be used much more for politics with the way ahead. Now, I also think it's really important also to remember that the future isn't actually set. Remember, psychics, seers, I say this so many times, but psychics and seers, all of them, me and all the ones from the past as well as the present, and even the biblical ones, all seers are in some way fallible, because the future is not completely set. What we see is the map. We see the map of fate, the map of destiny, I suppose you could call it. But our journey is determined by two things. Our journey across that map, both individually and as nations and as a world, is determined by two things. It's determined partly by karma, and most importantly, it's determined by free will. And both of these things are malleable. Both of these things are malleable, and seers are fallible. That sounds quite good, doesn't it? So I see through a dark mirror, as I say before. But these things are often arising in the future. We see them manifesting, and we can do something about it. We can change things, and we can change the way the world works. So that's how it works, folks. But now let's have a think about the philosophy behind these things. What is actually happening back there in the universal mind, as it were, in the spirit of the age, and how will things manifest in the future. So I've made my predictions. I know a lot of you think, oh, just get on with the predictions, give us the predictions, that's all I want. So those that don't want to think about things can switch off now if you want, because I also want to think about what all this means and what's actually going on in the world, and how the future might, like I say, manifest as we move forward. With all that's going on in the world today, we need to think very carefully, don't we, about what is really driving events in the world, and what can we do, each of us, um, when we're confronted by this situation. Many people speak about hidden forces that govern the world, don't they? They talk about the Illuminati. They talk about the Freemasons. They talk about clandestine sort of organizations, both political and corporate. Some even point to the fact that they say that it's all a matrix, and that maybe extraterrestrial forces are behind all this. So I don't think of it like that. I look at it this way. When I do my work as a medium and I stand in front of an audience, and I demonstrate mediumship to people, I kind of become aware of a sort of a pool of energy in the audience. This is sort of like a collective spirit of the people I'm working with who are in front of me, a sort of pool of consciousness. And when I'm doing mediumship, I kind of feel the energy move around the auditorium, Spiritualist church, or wherever I'm working. I feel the energy move, and I move with that. So as I'm and working with the spirit world as well at the same time, you feel the energy kind of move to a person, then you know that you've got your link. You know that's where the spiritual energy is, and you know that's the person you're going to need to make the spirit communication for, and you give the spirit communication. So I'm very aware of this kind of collective consciousness that is in a group of people. When you're open and in tune and you connect with, you can do it with an individual too, but when you're working as a medium, we feel this feeling. Often people in theatre understand the same sort of thing. They feel the energy of the audience one quite right. Even someone that doesn't claim to be psychic, and actors and actresses can often feel that energy of the audience they're working, particularly in a live setting. But for that short time, when I'm working with the spirit and with my spirit guides, I'm actually the director of that energy as it moves about. Now, the same thing happens also when you guys connect with us, when we do the spiritual healing at the end of the Craig and Jane show. Often, actually, there's not one tonight because haven't got anybody there. But the spiritual healing that comes at the end of our normal shows, me and Jane will feel in the studio a kind of a holy energy that comes into the place, and then we send that energy out to help people, don't we? So the thing behind this whole collective consciousness idea is that, and this group consciousness that is around thing, is that energy follows attention. Okay, so we can send healing energy by our thoughts. Where the attention goes, energy follows. This is a very, very important thing. This, I believe, is what the will is. The will, which is very important. Like I said, will and karma work together to guide our path across the map of life. And it's exactly the same in the world as well. And it's exactly the same even for political parties. It's the same for nations, and it's the same for the world, except on a bigger scale, because where I'm working with a little pool of energy, on a worldwide scale, there's sort of like there's like an ocean of fluid collective consciousness that moves initially without any direction. It's just an energy. And that power of attention can move a group consciousness. So this is something that's also happening spiritually, I think, in the background with all these events that are happening around the world, and in particular in America at the moment. There's kind of a welling up of consciousness. We often get it through history where there's a welling up of consciousness that happened in the 60s. There was a welling up of special sort of consciousness, but the consciousness that's welling up here at the moment, and this is what I feel, this is what I feel is happening, is kind of an ignorant sort of consciousness. It hasn't been directed yet. Let's say it's a raw sort of group consciousness. But the problem is the forces that want to control our world and want to harvest that collective unconsciousness and direct it. They want to direct it to their interests. It's being kind of harnessed. It's being tricked in a way. And this is why the media is so tremendously powerful. And this is why, um, because whoever rules the media controls the direction of that energy. You know, it's not just voters and uh, customers and all the rest of it that is in this energy, but it's the actual consciousness that's guiding the world. And this is why Trump has seen so much attack from the media from an unconscious level, because their interests are being challenged. And also the power of Hollywood and all those sort of people is also that terrifies them, because they have an enormous control and spiritual influence in many ways. They have an enormous control on the cultural reins of the collective consciousness. So this is why I think there's, on a very deep fundamental level, what's been happening with Trump is that he has challenged those that hold the reins. I suppose you could call it the reins of power, but I see it more as the reins of the actual energy of the collective consciousness. You know, just like I was talking about, when I stand in front of a spiritualist group of people, I feel the energy move and change. But they're doing it. They might not consciously do it. Some might know what they're doing. I mean, there's certainly been people in the past that know how to direct raw spiritual energy. I mean, the one that comes to mind is Hitler and his lot. He was a very mystically minded person, albeit in a very broken and corrupt way. But he understood the energy of the audience. When you watch his speeches, the energy that moves when he says things, and the people that followed him have the same thing. So we've got some very dodgy energies in the background at the moment. Who is directing this raw energy now? And look what happened before, when you get a powerful person come into the world who takes hold of the reins. You know, who are we letting take hold of the reins? On the one hand, we can see it. Because we see that the energy is being directed by people like the media, people like the corporate world. We can see all that. We can see it in our politics. We can see, and this is not just America. This is all over. We see it everywhere. We see the energies being pushed forward, agendas, or unusual sort of things appearing in people's consciousness. You know, the wokeism is almost like an illness that's come out of this, where it's not working properly. The insecurity people have about race, the insecurity people have about cultural differences, all those things are coming up almost like illnesses within this consciousness, as being abused and used by hidden forces. Because it's not just the forces we see, but it's the hidden forces, the fear, the things that we really need to fear. And I think people are beginning to wake up to the idea that there are many, many things in the background of our world that are guiding and pushing this energy of the world, and that these unelected forces are trying to seize the world's attention and direct it. You know, they keep hammering home subliminal messages. They're like what Vance Packard called the hidden persuaders. There are hidden influencers now. And this is dangerous, I think. I think this is very, very dangerous for the world. And it is taking us in a dangerous direction. And I think it's affecting every single person in the world in a very unconscious way, in a subliminal way, because we're all part of this collective energy, whether we know it or not. We're all sharing thoughts. We're all in a kind of a matrix, but not in the way the sci-fi movie did it. We're in a network of energetic connections between us all. And the more people that are the more spiritually awake you are, the more you feel this. And it's something that's happening in the world. So it's very, very important that we keep our thoughts very, very positive about these things, that we don't allow ourselves to become part of the crowd, part of the madness of the crowds, part of the monstrous way that energy can go if it's guided in the wrong way, and if it's done in a clandestine, secret way, in hidden powers, then we can be very seriously in trouble. But it can also work the other way, and the spiritual forces can work towards the betterment of mankind. And I think, as I said before on some of the other videos, these things will happen again, but good forces will take control ultimately. But we're in a very dangerous crossing point at the moment. And I worry a lot about what's happened with Trump. Yes, he's guilty of these things. Yes, okay, perhaps he is, but they've been used. They're being used to stop him getting into power. And I think this is what people see. They see through it. You can fool people some of the time, can't you? But not everybody all of the time. The Trump cooked the books, and that's, I think, true. But they want to associate with this the hush money, the prostitution, and they're hammering home messages that are making people trying to make people re-look at these things. But name to me, put it in the comments, give me the name of one politician, give me the name of one big business that hasn't cut the cake in their favor. How many politicians do we know in all the countries around the world who are blemish free? I can't think of a single one. Actually, even the great saintly ones, there's always been odd stuff in the background. Even Gandhi had some weird stuff in the background, actually. So the consciousness of crowds is usually an energy that's a little bit ignorant. It's ignorant. Perhaps it's neutral, but it's not self-conscious. It's guided. And it can be easily led. And this energy in the world can be very dangerous if the wrong people are handling it. So we've got to be self-dependent anyway. We've got to think for ourselves. We've got to be prepared to be who we are. We've got to be prepared to stand up for what we really understand and not be swayed so often by many of these negative people. There are some smart people out there. There are smart people that aren't tricked by all this stuff that goes on in the media. I lost my camera for a minute, but we are many of us who are, I hopefully can't be tricked, So are you one of the smart ones? That's the important thing. Do you think for yourself? Don't imitate others. Don't be taken in by any of the politics. Think for yourself. That's all we have to do. And then maybe we can find a way through these very difficult times. So give us a few comments about this, guys. And don't forget to give us the likes, because it's always great to give me a thumbs up, because a thumbs up helps the channel to thrive a little bit more. That's the way the world is at the moment. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and see you again soon. Bye for now. So do you like what I have to say? Do you like my work? Well, why don't you support my work? Have a look in the description below to go to my website, find out about psychic readings, find out about our NAADI readings with the Indian NAADI Oracle, buy my books, and join my workshops online by Zoom. All there on the website psychics.co.uk.